The name of the cornet derives from the Latin name for horn, corno, thin at one end and wide at the other, expanding in the shape of a cone. So the ice cream advert was actually spot on. This animal horn has had the tip cut off, making the instrument into a tube. If I blow through the thin end, I should be able to make a pitch. And if I make the air inside move quicker, making the vibration quicker, I should be able to play a higher harmonic. Here's another horn, but shorter than the previous one, so its lowest fundamental pitch will be higher. This one has a more appropriate mouthpiece, and to shorten the length of the instrument as I'm playing it, there are some finger holes cut into the length of the horn. As I open the finger holes, the sounding length becomes shorter, and therefore the pitch rises. Cows are not particularly considerate in their horn growing activities, so to replicate cornets of the same size, time after time, they're made from wood. The curved cornet is made in 2 full-length pieces, then bound, glued and covered in leather or parchment. The wood used can be softwood, such as fruit wood, or harder boxwood. If one is going for the full bling, the cornet can be carved from an elephant tusk. Cornets can dress either to the right or to the left. Many surviving examples are left curving instruments, but still seem to have been played with left hand over right. The reason for this may well have been to match the direction that the instruments were facing when 2 players were playing on opposite sides of an organ balcony. There are 5 different types of cornets: the standard treble, a cornetino pitched a 4th higher, the mute cornet, the tenor cornet or lizard pitched a 5th lower, and the bass cornet, which there are only 2 surviving examples. The standard treble cornet has similar fingerings to the G alto recorder. Historically, the size of the cornet was dictated by the town, city, region in which the player lived. Therefore, cornets came in a variety of pitches, but seemingly the most common was around A466, a semitone higher than modern concert pitch. There are, of course, many exceptions. The 2 cornets in Christ Church College, Oxford, made for the visit of James I in August 1605, are roughly A440, which is modern pitch. So these 2 instruments in Oxford predate the gunpowder plot by 2 months. The mouthpiece of the curved treble cornet has been compared to the size of an acorn cup, although again there are as many sizes as there are players. The mouthpiece of the mute cornet is actually integral to the instrument, and this is part of the charm of the instrument's sound. Due to its fully chromatic compass and the ability to play loud and quiet, the cornet was highly versatile and suitable to be played in sacred and secular settings. Certainly it was regarded as the premier wind instrument of its day, and the great cornet exponents were often the leading members of famous groups, like Girolamo della Casa and Giovanni Bassano were both head of the instrumental band in San Marco, Venice. It was Della Casa who described his instrument as the most excellent of all wind instruments, because it mimics the human voice better than the other instruments do. This ability to blend with voices is one of the cornet's greatest strengths, which led the writer Mersenne to claim that, when heard with the voices of the boys in chapels and cathedrals, It sounds like a ray of sunshine piercing the shadows. Combined with the trombones, Monteverdi uses this most rich and sonorous coupling to summon Hades in his opera L'Orfeo, while in the hands of Heinrich Schütz, the cornetti sparkle in his motet Freue dich des Weibes deiner Jugend, extolling the virtues of youth. In civic situations, the cornet combined forces with shawms and again trombones to perform in high-status events. For instance, when Elizabeth I visited the tomb of her uncle Prince Arthur in Worcester Cathedral in 1575. She entered into the church with great and solemn singing and music, with cornets and sackbuts, with a canopy borne over her, and so up into the chancel, where she diligently viewed the tomb of King John together with the chapel and tomb of her dear uncle, late Prince Arthur, all richly and beautifully adorned. And also in this painting by Dennis van Asloot of the Ommegang procession from Brussels, you see 6 musicians with a cornet player resplendent in the middle. During the 16th and 17th centuries, a version of the cornet could be found across Europe, from Scandinavia to Portugal, and in those areas of European influence in South America. The cornet players were expected not only to play music written by the composer, but they were also expected to add ornaments and decorations to the melodic lines. Both Bassano and Dalla Casa wrote florid passaggi or diminutions on what were the popular motets of the time. Here is a short unornamented phrase from the motet Suzanne and Job by Roland de Lassus, and then the same passage with the divisions written by Giovanni Bassano. From its high point in the mid-17th century, the cornet went into decline. So by the 20th century, there was some incredulity that the cornet was ever a nice instrument. If ever an instrument belonged to the lower strata of society, the cornet did. They were the poor white trash among musical instruments. The tone was dull and windy, but for some strange reason, it became extremely popular. In the 15th and 16th centuries, it became the most popular wind instrument in Europe. With the work in the 1950s of pioneering maker players, the cornet gradually dragged itself out of the trash and has restored itself to a position of glorious prominence.